Welcome to Pop Cult, where we talk reality TV, celebrity chaos, and pop culture throwbacks.
Mort? He's a lemur.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know that. I can never tell what animals are in like movies like that because they look so cartoonish.
He's either supposed to be a bush baby, which actually isn't a lemur, or an eye, which is a lemur.
A bush baby?
Yeah.
I want to be that species.
I'll send you a
bush
picture of one.
baby?
Hold on.
Bush baby is hilarious.
Yep, they're bush babies.
That's literally what they're called.
Yes.
Their scientific name is a bush baby.
No, their scientific name is like Galgahole Maholi or something like that. But their common name
like
is,
that nearly as
bush
much.
baby. Okay, send it to you. It's on my
Oh my
Instagram.
god, I think that's what he is. Because that kind of looks like him.
Yeah.
Kind of freaky looking. I don't really like that. But I would like my nickname for here on out to be Bush Baby.
Okay. That doesn't sound weird at all.
That's actually the funniest thing I've heard in a really long time. Anyways, welcome to Pop Cult, everyone. I'm Avery.
And I'm Julia.
And we're your hosts, and we were just diving into some animal lore. I'm leaving that in, by the way.
I totally butchered the scientific name, so nobody get weird about that.
I don't really think anyone wanted to know the scientific name. I don't think you need to be worried about that.
Oh my goodness.
But welcome back to the show. We're your hosts, and today is another Fame Files episode. Thanksgiving week, Fame Files. Feels, morbidly fitting for this time of year, as I feel like this is when most people are applying to colleges.
Yeah, I got my first college acceptance, or maybe it was one of my last ones, like at Thanksgiving, the year I was applying, I think.
Yeah, that would check out. It's also your birthday week.
It is my birthday week.
So that's exciting. Everyone tell Julia happy birthday.
Well, when you listen to this, it'll actually have already been my birthday, so you're already late.
Ugh, well, what's a girl to do? I'll text you on your actual birthday. We have a group chat with our first cousins.
We do?
And I'm not going to tell you the name because it could be offensive to some. And we always text in it happy birthday because sometimes you need a reminder.
Sometimes you need a reminder. I hate to say it.
It's really nice, but I never forget Julia's birthday, obviously.
Obviously.
And she never forgets me, just in case anyone was wondering. But yeah, we also send announcements in that chat too. So, but it's usually not
a baby.
me and Julia because we're we don't really have big things happening in our life like that.
We have nothing going on.
Yeah, other than I guess if you guys want to know when I'm going on my next trip, I can let you know.
Well, I already know, so
right, but that feels like the most relevant current events happening in our lives.
Yeah.
Which apparently does not ladder up to babies or whatever.
No.
Anyways, we are doing a Fame Files episode today, so we are revisiting another pop culture incident, if you will. I'm going to call this one an incident because that's what it is. Today, our topic is the college admissions scandal from a few years back, wherein the rich and famous got mixed up in some dirty deeds and they paid for it. Do you know anything about this case?
No, I don't. I was trying to think. I don't know anything. All I know is that I saw this picture of what's her face, Lori Loughlin's daughter, fake rowing.
Yes, Olivia Jade, yes.
Yeah, that's all I know.
We will definitely talk about that. It's also ironic because Julia just started watching Desperate Housewives and I've just been rewatching it during the day, and one of our offenders that we will talk about today is Felicity Huffman, who obviously played Lynette on Desperate Housewives, and then of course Lori Loughlin, Full House. That's really the only thing I've seen her in. Well, that's not true, actually. I'll mention something else that she's done more recently since she's made her return to acting post jail.
Oh my god. Okay. I didn't realize she was actually in jail.
She was in federal prison. But yes, this is another lengthy one, and as was last week's Step versus Heard, and then after this we won't be doing a court case for a while because they're an undertaking to research and write, but next week we will return to some more lighthearted pop culture events. But I think I said this last week, but these celebrities, they love to commit a crime or to go to court.
to commit a crime.
Like, it's kind of a lot. I don't know. They have the audacity, if nothing else. But should we go ahead and get into it?
Absolutely.
Okay. We are starting out a little bit in the future. We're gonna start
the future.
Not the future. Let me back up.
Please keep that in.
If you didn't know, I am a fortune teller, so
Avery
I can
predict the future, and if you
Yes.
thought that she couldn't, you were wrong.
And my prediction is that, in fact, this is probably still going on, and we just haven't busted it yet.
For sure.
We are gonna start after. We're gonna start out with like the high level details and what happened, essentially the moments around when this broke, and then we're gonna back up and like look at how we got here. So on March 12th, 2019, upwards of 50 celebrities, coaches, college officials, businessmen, and women, and more were arrested in a college admissions cheating and bribery scam. Among those arrested were actresses Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, I'm assuming is how you pronounce his last name. It is Massimo, though, because at one point I was reading an article and she referred to him as Moss, like as in the plant. And I was like,
that's
oh my
his
God.
Nickname?
Yeah. I was like, not loving that. Anyways, the accusations against Felicity Huffman were that she made a payment of $15,000 for her oldest daughter, Sophia's college entrance exam, to be rigged in order to help her chances of getting into universities. And the accusations against Lori Loughlin and her husband Massimo were that they allegedly paid $500K in bribes, which made sure that both of their daughters were guaranteed admission to the University of Southern California on the grounds that they would try out as walk-ons for the crew team. Along with these high-profile celebs and some others, the FBI arrested multiple CEOs, lawyers, finance execs, and more. It was really like...
Were they all working together, or was this all individual that just like all caught at once?
So you will find out.
Oh my God, Felicity Huffman is Desperate Housewives.
Girl, I just said that.
No, I got confused.
Were you thinking I was saying Real Housewives?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, Desperate Housewives. Yeah, Lynette. She plays Lynette.
Okay, I've got it now. I'm on board.
The one with all the kids.
Yes.
Ironically.
Ironic.
But basically think of like the most high profile of careers that you could have, and these were the types of parents that were involved in this, but we will get into how they were all connected in a little bit. The scandal itself was dubbed Operation Varsity Blues, and the question really is like, how did we get here? 50 people is a lot of people to be indicted and charged in one fell swoop under one scheme. So how are this many people able to scam the systems of some of the most, I'm putting this in quotes, prestigious universities in the country?
Mm-hmm.
It all started with a man named Rick Singer. Rick was a high school and college basketball coach in the 90s, but was fired, I think, for being like aggressive, like verbally aggressive towards like his players and refs and whatnot. But since he had been working in the university system for so long, he started to realize that there was a niche for having inside knowledge about college admissions and how those processes worked. He started out as, and this is like his words, in quotes, independent college counselor, and he would help the kids with their SAT scores, deciding on schools, applications, essays, school recommendations. The perception was that he knew how to get kids into college.
Yeah, through bribery.
Right. And like, it didn't necessarily start out that way, but like very quickly spiraled. People say that he was very serious and not a personable guy at all, but he would give presentations to pitch his services at places like country clubs and likely private schools or places where like wealthy people tend to congregate. And I think his demeanor, being that he wasn't a super charismatic person, actually, I wouldn't say that he wasn't charismatic, but just maybe not super personable, probably helped him drum up business, because I feel like we're more likely to trust somebody with something like our academic future who like seems maybe like a bit of a dud, but that's all subjective. It is said that Rick started out his career as a legit and very successful counselor and was doing it legally. But in 2011, he started being unable to maybe achieve the same success rate, I guess, that he had been achieving previously.
So, like, his, like, supposed students weren't really getting into schools as much as they used to be.
Right. And from everything that I watched/read, it kind of seems like, I mean, as we all know, college admissions these days in 2025 are like, I feel like it's just getting more and more competitive.
Yeah.
Acceptance rates are plummeting. Like, all the schools want to be so selective. So it's crazy. I think that, yes, to your point, in 2011, maybe this was when we started to see this shift. I couldn't tell you why, but this was when he maybe started to not be having the same amount of students be able to get into these schools as he had previously. So that's when he developed this technique called the side door. He says it all started with one student who was really bright, but when it came to the standardized testing, he always did poorly. And this is the first time, right? Like, story of all of our lives, bro. I don't know why he thought this kid was special. Like,
try again.
I feel like 1% of students are doing well on those standardized tests. Like, what? But this was the first time that he bribed a test proctor to alter the student's result. He created this tactic of the side door, which was the term he used for rigging the system to get these kids into college. So, to break it down, like what this side door actually is, there's supposedly, unbeknownst to me, 3 ways to get into a school. The front door is the ethical way, like getting in on your own, like we did and like most people do.
Yes.
Like
the only way.
Actually, the only way. True.
The front door is the only one that's unlocked.
Yes, exactly. And then there's the back door, which is basically the idea of getting your kid into a school by making a massive donation to a university. Think like in the $50 to $100 million range. Like, this is not like a quick $50K donation, which is obviously still an insane amount of money. So, like, think about that in terms of 50 to 100 million. But the side door meant guaranteed admission by rigging the system, while the back door is still rigging the system, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, these universities, and I feel that this is important to note, they were already participating in this backdoor behavior. Like, they have been doing this for years, for decades probably. Very, what we would consider normally to be prestigious schools like Stanford, Harvard, UCLA, Princeton, all of these Ivy Leagues and just like really what are supposedly really good schools. Like, it's no secret that they accept donations, and like, if you think that that doesn't impact whether or not their child gets to go there, like, come on, right? But it is not legal, technically. So it's just interesting to think about the fact that they are doing this, like, so openly, yet they say that they're not. But with the back door, there is still no guarantee. Like, you could donate all that money, and, like, what if your kid's, like, literally dumb, you know? Like, I'm sorry, but, like, Stanford's not letting them in.
No.
Probably. But the side door was essentially guaranteed admission. So specifically the Ivies are the ones that will take these hefty donations, but at the minimum, we're talking 10 million. There was even some evidence to say that playing a super niche sport like sailing, rowing, or something like crew would make it more likely for somebody to get in. So this will obviously be a large role in this case, but also seems like that's a way that you can get in via the back door. So how did Rick access this supposed side door? He founded his company called The Key, which was
so funny.
It's like so spot on.
The key to unlock the side door.
Like,
you know, he was giggling when he said,
he's probably like literally grew from Despicable Me. He founded The Key, which was a for-profit college counseling business. And then on top of this, he created the Key Worldwide Foundation, which is a nonprofit extension of this business that could be used as a tax write-off, and also that was exempt from paying federal income tax.
I want to know how they, like, figure all this out.
I know.
Like, how people just make businesses. But it's probably because they're making them for scam. But, like, how do you, like, get away with it for that long? You know, like, the whole Jen Shaw thing, like, she had, like, 14 million businesses.
It was, and not, I mean, it's, both of these cases were, like, over a decade long.
Yeah. I'm like,
just
how did
wild.
figure out how to do that.
Yeah, and it's crazy that like the authorities will sit on it for so long before they intervene because they want to make sure that they have all the evidence.
Yeah, they want to make sure they go to jail, not just a 90-day situation.
Yeah, no, they're going to prison. Well, stay tuned. So he would tell parents that he could facilitate their child's college admission through the side door if the parents would make a donation to his nonprofit organization, which was his way of hiding the bribery aspect.
Okay.
The kicker was that Rick was only charging like $300,000 to $500,000 to guarantee admission versus these tens and tens of millions that the universities would require. He started this scam small by modifying applications or embellishing details. He would even sometimes change, and this is so messed up, an applicant's ethnicity so that they could benefit from affirmative action. And he does say about this initial scheme, because this is where, like, reminder, this is like we're starting small, like this is early days. He says, it was wrong and I did it anyways. What's 10, 12, 13 kids who are good students, quality people, and this one score may screw them out of an opportunity to go to a decent school. I rationalized that to myself. My thing about that is, sucks to suck. Your score screws you out of an opportunity, go to another college. This is what is insane to me about this case.
They just get so in their head they have to go to this one singular school when there's so many schools. Like,
right.
And you have the money to apply to multiple.
Exactly. That's where I really like lose sympathy.
Broaden your horizons.
Because it's like, you don't need to go to an Ivy. But how are they actually like executing on these schemes? And how was he getting these kids in? There were a couple of different types of schemes that were happening simultaneously. Probably, if I had to assume, depending on the school or the abilities of the student, or maybe just like what they felt like would work best in each situation, depending on their contacts at the school. One of these tactics, and probably the one that you and people might be the most familiar with, was I'm going to call it the athlete method.
Okay.
So this is where Lori Loughlin enters the chat. She and her husband and her daughters and Olivia, Jade, and Bella are all engulfed in this scheme. The university that we will be talking about in the context of the four of them is the University of Southern California.
And that's not even an Ivy.
Right. What? Like, I'm sure it's a great school, but like I can't imagine it's like that much better than any other state school.
But if we're gonna do this, at least go to an Ivy.
Right. But I will say other universities were doing this as well. Like, I feel like I need to preface the fact that there were so many people involved in this case, but the vast majority of them were people that like you and I would have no clue who they are. Like, they're just business owners and like lawyers, like no name people with a lot of money.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why I'm focusing on the two celebrities involved, because obviously this is a pop culture podcast. So just in case anyone was wondering. We obviously, are familiar with Olivia Jade to be a very well-known influencer. She's a model. She's done a ton of brand deals. She's done some collabs in the past. This was all like pre-scandal, even like in high school, literally. So basically, Rick would have the parents set up staged photo shoots to obtain images of the child pretending to be playing a sport or participating in a sport, like with the equipment and the uniform, etc. And then he would Photoshop those mock photos into compelling images that made it look like they were actually playing in a game or match, depending on the sport that he chose for them.
Wait, that's so dumb. Why wouldn't they fact check that?
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
If the parents would ask Rick how they should explain the situation to their child, he would just say for them to tell them things like, just tell them someone in athletics is going to help you with your admission.
Oh, so the kids didn't know?
No, the kids did not know. Many of the parents wouldn't even tell their kids that they were working with Rick. Lori Loughlin and her husband had actually both of their daughters pose on like a stationary rowing machine, like the one that you would see at the gym.
Yeah.
But they probably had one in their house. And then they sent these pictures to Rick, and they were ultimately accepted into the University of Southern California as coxswains on the rowing team.
That's insanity.
And I just feel like I have to note here that the picture that I saw on her profile, this could have been like created later, I don't really know, but I saw a picture of her athletic profile that he put together that was literally her on the stationary rowing machine. Like, she wasn't even like in a boat, Were
they buying this, or was the like university like in on it?
So the way that this is a good question. The way that this would work and how they kind of like jumped through those hoops. He would put together a sports profile for these students by taking their transcript, test scores, and the profile, and he would take it to an athletic director at a university. In this case, at USC, it was a woman named Donna Heinel, who was the athletic director, who was extremely involved in the scheme and was also eventually implicated and charged. The athletic director would then take these profiles to meetings with something like a dean of admissions or some sort of admission staff who would look through the profiles, and then the athletic director would then advocate for their admission. They would make sure that things got pushed under the rug or reassure the admission staff about inconsistencies or discrepancies in the profiles about the student's actual experience.
What confuses me is how many times can you do this, but I guess not a lot because it got blown up. But
yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, I think that was like my thought too when I was starting to write this, but like it was across so many different schools that, you know, if you're only doing it 2 or 3 times over the course of years, then maybe it can fly under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
But like, to answer your question, like, he had to have an inside. He had to have a contact on the inside to be able to execute this.
Yeah.
And it was usually either an athletic director or a coach. So in November of 2017, Rick took Olivia Jade's rowing profile to Donna, who took it to the USC subcommittee, who approved her admission. A couple weeks later, Rick sent her parents an email letting them know that she had been accepted, but told them to keep it, quote, hush hush until March 2018. So basically, when she was admitted via a verbal confirmation from the USC admissions subcommittee and the athletic director, she still has yet to be accepted formally, but it's essentially like a conditional acceptance. So that's kind of how it's working. Like, she hadn't even applied to the school yet. They were just trying to obtain an informal acceptance based on athletics. The athletic director would basically just put them on a recruited walk-on list of sorts, and then the students just like wouldn't show up to practice. Like,
well, that doesn't make any sense.
You know how some college football programs just have like walk-ons that like never really play?
Well, yeah, I know I thought that was like a walk-on was you didn't get recruited, but you still got into the school, so you like show up to like a tryout situation.
Yes, basically that's how it was working, the same way, but then either they just like wouldn't try out or they would just immediately be on the team, but like they wouldn't ever actually participate.
Okay.
If I'm understanding correctly. I could be wrong about that, but that would be my assumption. There was less information on that because I do think that a lot of the cases that they covered, the students, they were busted before the student actually got to school.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Once they would hear from the athletic director about the acceptance, the parents would then send the money to the Key Worldwide Foundation, the nonprofit.
Okay.
So like you're asking all the right questions because obviously like there's many people involved in the admission of a student into college.
Yeah.
And in the case of Olivia Jade, it definitely was not all seamless. The guidance counselor at her high school became suspicious because he's like, I know that neither of these girls participated in crew. Like, what's going on here?
He's gonna cause
like
some issues.
He's seeing her acceptance on the grounds of her doing crew, and he's like, what's this all about? Eventually, her counselor called USC admissions to discuss the admission of the students from his high school, which I feel like that's not unusual. If you go to a high school, like maybe a private high school or something, like your guidance counselor is very involved in your college admission process. We went to public school, so that was not the case.
I think I met my counselor once.
I don't even think I couldn't tell you. I said I'm doing this on my own with the help of my parents, and I'm not. All this to say, much respect to high school guidance counselors, but like it's just not the same. If you're wealthy and famous and you're probably going to a very small private high school, your guidance counselor is going to be up your butt about your college admissions. So he told USC that she was not involved in crew after they told him that she had been flagged as a recruit for the crew team. Her dad then went to the high school to confront the counselor and accused him of getting in the way.
Is this Mossy?
Yes, Moss.
Massimo,
Moss, whatever you want to call him. We'll refer to him various ways throughout the episode. But he accused this counselor of trying to get in the way of opportunities for his daughters, fully knowing that the guidance counselor was like spot on.
Damn.
There were even records of a conversation between Olivia Jade and her parents on how to avoid issues with the counselor, saying things like, we don't want, quote, the weasel to meddle. and calling him nosy. And the prosecution argued that that singer and her parents even coached Olivia Jade on what to say to the counselor should he ask questions, and Lori Loughlin told her to, quote, "Don't say too much to that man." So
Dang.
I do think it's like begs the question, did she have any idea what her parents were doing? Because those are weird things.
She probably knew something, but she didn't know what it was.
Yeah, like I don't think that she knew the illegality of it, but I definitely think she knew she was getting help to get into school.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I think she knew that.
After all of this happened, Donna, the athletic director at USC, who was in on it, she caught wind of this meddling guidance counselor, and she called Rick to warn him. She wanted to make sure that the students knew what to say if they were ever questioned about the basis of their admission. The story that they were supposed to tell everybody was that they were walk-on candidates for the teams and were looking forward to trying out and making the team once they start school.
So weird.
So weird. Something that also maybe tipped people off, I think most notably the guidance counselor, to feeling like it was strange that Olivia Jade had gotten into USC, was her very public attitude due to her online presence about her dislike of school, which is relatable. I hated school too. There's a video of her on her first day of her senior year of high school where her mom is like in the video. It's like a vlog. She's vlogging. Her mom's like, "Have a good day. I know you're excited," saying it sarcastically. And Olivia responds, "No, I'm not."
Okay.
And then throughout this vlog is essentially just complaining about having to go to school, and is like, when she's complaining about having to go to school, and then when she gets home later that day, she's like, "I'm so happy to be at home and that the school day is over," and then kind of follows it up with, "I hate school, but I'm lucky that I have the opportunity to be educated, blah blah blah." So there's that, but then there's also some content out there where she talks about wanting to drop out of high school and that she doesn't want to go to college because she's already successful and doing well without higher education, so why would she? Which I can't even blame her for.
No, I can't blame her.
But nonetheless, she at this point is basically guaranteed a spot at USC. So now we're through the admissions with the help of the athletic director. But what about this coach that thinks that they're potentially about to have a new player? When I say it was all really about like the right price, I mean it, because money, as we said in the Dot versus Herd case, can make people do crazy things.
Money talk.
Money talks. For example, the water polo coach at the University of South Carolina was connected to Rick through accepting upwards of $250,000 for the fake admission of 2 USC students. Some of this money was likely going towards the water polo program, but I would assume he was cashing most of it himself.
Dang.
So now we have the crew team doing this and the water polo team. I don't know much about the crew coach. Like, I'm not sure if the crew coach was in on it, but the water polo coach definitely was. And like, these are just obscure sports in general.
Yeah.
Like, I would beg,
just like lesser known, and not a lot of schools will have them.
Right. That's what I was literally just thinking that. Like, I would go as far as to say, like, probably the majority of schools don't even have these sports. Whatever. Another example of the coaches being involved happened at Stanford. A man named John Vandermoor was the Stanford sailing coach at the time, and Rick one day just contacted John out of the blue about recruiting, specifically about a girl named Molly who like really wanted to go to Stanford for some reason. She's not famous or anything. She's just Molly who wanted to go to Stanford. John told him that he couldn't support any more players because there were no more spots on the sailing team. Rick then contacted the athletic director and basically asked if they could pay for her to get in on the basis of a large donation of about $1 million. But the athletic director told him that that wasn't enough money to make an impact on admissions.
Then what is?
50 mil, apparently. The next year, Rick contacted John to let him know that Molly had gotten into Stanford and that her family wanted to donate $500,000 to the sailing program. But John is confused because he's like, I don't know why he'd want to do this. I literally told him no. So what does any of this have to do with me? What that got to do with me? That's John at this point. Nonetheless, Rick did make the $500,000 donation towards the Stanford sailing program in Molly's name. Investigators think that the reason that Rick may have done this so out of the blue was so that it would act as somewhat of a down payment to gain access moving forward to the Stanford sailing program. John,
Wait, So he got Molly in, like, not legally, but then he still wants to donate money to the program?
Yeah, so John did not help him get Molly into the school. The Stanford sailing coach did not help.
Yeah.
But then Rick still made a donation to the sailing program because they think it's because he wanted to have access to John from then on out, and he was hoping that this down payment would
like show he could give him like good money.
Yes, and so that he would help him in the future if he ever needed to get a kid into Stanford again. So
then how did he get Molly in? Sorry.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how Molly ended up getting in. Probably a fat donation, if I had to guess. But keep in mind, if John had helped him get Molly in, the donation would have been much smaller. So it's kind of like, for Rick, the incentive is that if I can help these parents to pay less, to help them avoid having to pay millions of dollars through John, then I'm going to invest in John up front in hopes that I can kind of like flip him and get him to help me and be in on the scheme. I will say about John, he allegedly did not ask many questions, because why would you turn down money like that? And also the sailing team appeared to be struggling to fundraise and to stay afloat at the time in general. And so this was kind of Rick's MO. Like, he's targeting these lesser known or lesser cared about sports. You know, he's not going to be doing this with like the Stanford football team.
No, that would be too obvious.
Yeah. Rick knew that John was struggling to fundraise to hire another assistant coach and offered to then donate $110,000 towards that effort with no strings attached.
Lies.
But he was basically keeping John on a leash to help him with his scheme. So trust Rick Singer was not doing anything out of the goodness of his heart. It's important to note that John never actually took any of the money for himself. Every bit of it did go to the sailing team, as far as we know, which is like a
good for you, John.
I know, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I was watching, there's a documentary about this case on Netflix that I watched. It's very weird because it's basically like actors like acting out what happened, like, because they have so many, we'll get to it, but they have so many phone calls between Rick and these people who he was, like, executing on this scheme for.
Okay.
But one of the people, the actual people in it, speaking as themselves, was John, the Stanford sailing coach. And it's like, I did feel for him. Like, out of all of them, he's the one that I have the most sympathy for, because he didn't take in any of the money, which does make me think that maybe he wasn't fully understanding that this wasn't allowed. But then also, he's an adult and he does work for the university. So I have to believe that they have briefed him or done some training. That
he has to know. Like, it.
Yeah.
There's definitely probably some naiveness there, but like, you don't work for an Ivy not knowing like the lengths people would go to try to go to an Ivy.
Right. That's such a good point. People are crazy about getting into Ivies. Like, all those videos that they post when the Ivy decisions come out.
Yeah, but also
Wild.
Rick should have understood that the more people that know about this scheme, the quicker it's going to get out. Rick is making mistakes by involving so many people.
I agree. And it's funny that you say that, because that was another thing that one of the FBI agents said in the documentary, was like, it's actually extremely easy to catch people who commit white collar crimes because they get away with it for so long that they have just lost all of their inhibition for being concerned about getting caught. So I would say it's likely that that's what happened here. At this point, the scheme is obviously going on at least 2 schools, but likely more. So eventually, because of this, like, people are catching wind of what he's doing and how he's doing this, and it kind of snowballed.
Like the common people?
No, like rich people.
Shoot.
Like other rich people who want to do this for their kid.
Okay.
And it started snowballing into a scenario where Rick was setting up meetings between university presidents and parents so they could basically come to an agreement of what they needed to do or donate to ensure their child's admission. And then after this is when
what happened to just going to school? I don't know, and doing well.
What happened to honesty?
And no, Avery and I did not go to Ivies, but we went to like good ass schools. Like,
I have never had a complaint about the level or quality of my education.
Me neither.
And I've never had an employer complain about it. I've never even had an employer ask me where I went to school. Nobody cares. Genuinely, I don't know. Cares.
We're not in the corporate world. I
am.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I guess I don't really know what I think of when I think of corporate. I think of like wearing like a suit to work every day.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're not we're not investment bankers. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just see these people committing all these crimes. And I'm like, well, then why am I paying my taxes? Why am I doing things the honest way? Like,
because we're like good people with integrity.
And I don't want to go to prison. Like, I would not do well in prison.
I don't know anyone who does do well in prison.
Right. Well,
except for Jen Shaw.
Well, actually, yes. And also, another person that I think did well in prison, which we'll eventually cover this, was the Chrisleys, the dad.
I don't know who that is.
Oh my god. What was their show called? Chrisley Knows Best. It was a reality show on, like, I don't think it was on Bravo. I think it was on, like, E! Or something. And it was based in Charleston. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, they got arrested on tax evasion, I think. And they've gotten out of prison. They were pardoned last year, but he talks about his experience in prison a lot. And he was like, yeah, I had a great time. I mean, not a great time, but he's like, as far as prison goes, it was easy for me. So,
okay.
We're not talking about the Chrisleys, but the parents would come to an agreement with the university. And then after this is when the coaches and the athletic directors started getting involved. And Rick would set up the same meetings, and the ADs from the various schools would eventually start coming to him about the open spots and giving Rick an opportunity to find a student for him. So
what about the athletes in this scenario? The real athletes, the ones who want to sail, the ones who want to, row?
I think that they probably didn't even know, because most of these students
so their
don't
spots
even end up
weren't
the team.
affected.
No, I don't think.
Okay. Because if we're taking away spots from like these like real athletes, like that's fucked up, guys.
Yeah, no, I don't think that the athlete spots were taken, because you have to think about the fact that if these students have never, for example, Olivia Jade has never rowed crew in her entire life. I don't know if that's the right terminology. Like, we don't have crew where I grew up. Like, what?
I think are crew and rowing not two different things?
Like, I couldn't even tell you.
I don't know.
Please advise someone.
Somebody phone a friend.
Yeah, but she's never done crew in her entire life, so they can't bank having her on the team, and then she tries out, she doesn't know how to do it, or she just doesn't try out at all, and then now they don't have a full team, So I think because they were considered walk-ons, it was like there were people that were guaranteed to be on the team that filled up the necessary spots, and then they just had these people as walk-ons, like as backup, I guess. That's what I would guess. But to your point, they are still taking a spot away from somebody who would have just gone to the school for academics.
Okay.
But like with the AD and the coach both in on it, they're able to trick admissions by advocating for these students and are just basically flying under the radar. Parents would pay Rick hundreds of thousands or even millions to get their kids into these schools, and the higher the amount, the better the school, which is crazy. For example, Harvard would have been a cool like 1.2 million.
Okay, so if the university president is now in on it, but admissions isn't, that's crazy.
Yeah, and like I didn't necessarily read anything specifically where like a president was implicated or anything like that, but I think that that's just because they were already doing this. But now there's
what about the meetings they were having with them?
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like now there's this whole other layer of it where we're not only just making a large donation, which like I said earlier is how the back door worked.
Yeah.
But now there's a whole the extra layer is the fact that they're guaranteeing them admissions through athletics. So if I maybe had to guess, like either the president didn't know or was just turning a blind eye.
Okay.
I don't believe that any of these university presidents are innocent. I don't think that they just had no clue what was going on. They just might have like not asked for all the details.
Okay.
Between the years of 2011 and 2018, Rick received upwards of $25 million in payments from parents, which he used to bribe coaches and various administrators at these universities, and also was pocketing some of that money himself, of course.
That's crazy.
So that's one aspect of the scandal. The other major part was altering the students' standardized tests. Rick started having people pay to have someone else take their children's tests for them for somewhere likely in the $75,000 range.
Bro.
And on top of that, the more sinister aspect of this part of the scheme, in my opinion, is the one which brings us to Felicity Huffman's involvement.
The
Lynette
desperate
Scavo.
Housewife, not the Real Housewife. I apologize for my
Yes,
confusion.
correct. Lynette Scavo, a la Desperate Housewives. This tactic required parents getting students tested and diagnosed with learning disabilities to get the medical documentation to show that there was a need for the accommodations given to those with learning disabilities.
This is about to piss me off.
Right. He would literally tell them to tell their kids to perform poorly on a test so they could be given extra time, because if they had more time, they were probably going to do better on the test. But also, it could potentially get them into a room alone with a proctor. So keep that in mind. Rick would then even have them visit wherever it was that the schools that they wanted to go to were, and they would go on recruiting visits, in quotes recruiting visits, because we all know what's going on. A proctor would then be flown in and would supervise the child taking the test, and the only the two of them would be in the testing room, the student and this proctor. The student would then write their answers on a different sheet of paper, and then the proctor would go in and rebubble the answers to align it with whatever score they decide that they wanted the student to get. So basically, they're using the learning disability diagnosis to get these students and isolated in a room so they can doctor the answer sheets without the child knowing, because they technically did actually take the test. But now
so the proctor is also in on it.
Correct. The specific person acting as the proctor was a man named Mark Riddell. He was a Harvard grad who had worked in college exam prep at a school for athletes called IMG Academy in Florida. I actually think that this academy was where Venus and Serena Williams attended. Not saying that they participated in this scheme, just a fun fact.
Outside of that.
Allegedly, after he had his first child, he and his wife needed money, so that's how he got wrapped up in this, and he was earning around $10,000 per test.
And how many tests do you think he was taking?
There's no telling.
Wow.
So Felicity Huffman gets involved when Rick told her that her daughter's test scores weren't good enough to get into the school that she wanted to go to. It turns out that this was not true. She would have gotten in anyways, but obviously, like, this is Rick's livelihood, so
he has to be like, she sucks.
Yeah, and like now we've resorted to lying, which is unfortunate. Felicity Huffman spoke about how her daughter had been seeing a neuropsychiatrist since she was 11 and really did need the extra time to take the SAT, despite the fact that faking learning disabilities was part of a scheme. She has claimed that her daughter did have special needs when it came to test taking.
Okay. Like real, not like
yes, doctor. But like I'm not sure if I believe it, but
okay.
Who am I to say? She does say that the neuropsychiatrist had no idea about the scheme at all. Like, the neuropsychiatrist was not in on it. She was not technically fake diagnosing Felicity's daughter in order to, like, take a cut of the money here.
Okay.
She says that Rick Singer convinced her that the daughter would not have a chance of getting into a top university without his help. She says directly about this, quote, "I believed him. And so when he slowly started to present the criminal scheme, it seems like, and I know this seems crazy at the time, but that it was my only option to give my daughter a future. And I know hindsight is 20/20, but I felt like I would be a bad mother if I didn't do it. So I did it." Like, I understand where she's coming from. Respectfully, you and your husband are both extremely successful actors and still are working.
Like, the kid would have been fine.
Right. So to say that you felt that this was your only option to give your daughter a future is just simply not true based
also,
on
guys,
what we know.
If you want them to go to college so badly, like, community college exists. And they're
also
great schools.
A million other universities that are much easier to get into.
Like, why are we so obsessed?
Like, I don't know the number of universities that we have in this country, but I have to believe it's in the thousands.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So I just can't imagine that, like, there wasn't one single university that she wouldn't have gotten into. Nonetheless, this was obviously bound to unravel with the massive amounts of money being moved around essentially under the table, and to your point, the amount of people involved.
Yeah, that's what's getting me. I'm like, why are we spilling secrets left and right? It's like he does not care.
Right. Like, if I were committing a crime, I wouldn't be telling anyone about it.
Only like one or two people would know. Like, it's like, because at some point everybody, like, you've already told 4,000 people. You might as well tell everybody.
Right.
Like, what's the point?
At this point, you might as well make moves to get it legalized.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not really, but nonetheless. So how did they get caught? It's kind of a funny story, a little bit. A financial executive who had been involved in the scheme, not naming him because no one knows who he is, was arrested on an unrelated charge for an illegal stock sale of some sort, whatever that means. He basically made a deal to trade information and told the authorities that the Yale soccer coach at the time, a man named Rudy Meredith, had asked him for a bribe to get his child into the school. So he gets arrested not even about the college admissions scandal.
That's always how it starts.
But he doesn't want to go to prison for his other crime, right?
Yeah, so he's like, hey, you want to hear about this?
He's like, I think you might be more interested in what I assume is going on over there.
Bigger fish to fry over here. Cut me a deal and I'll tell you everything. Although this man seems as if he doesn't really know anything.
Right.
He knows like one piece, but I guess he did unlock the whole thing.
Yes, that is actually a good point. Something that I noticed as well was like he's bringing up someone completely that we would deem like irrelevant. So they bring in Rudy, the Yale soccer coach, and they give him a chance to tell his side, and he just sings like a canary and is like, you guys
this is the issue. You have to find people who are good at lying and keeping secrets.
Exactly. And this just goes to show that you can never trust anyone, which comes to light in a much more insane way in just a moment.
What they need is the girls who are on the standards committee and sororities, because those bitches keep all of the standard stuff locked so tight. Like, I would be fishing and I would never find out a thing.
It's so true. And also they need to find those girls and recruit them to the FBI, because
that's
the way
that
they would be scouring social media and like find things on people was crazy.
Yes.
But yeah, so he's just running his mouth. He tells them that they need to speak with Rick Singer, and he becomes an informant to avoid prison time.
Good for him, I guess.
I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't trust me to commit a crime.
Don't commit a crime, Avery.
Right. But also, if you were to commit a crime, like, I actually wouldn't rat you out. So you could trust me, but
I wouldn't rat you out either.
Anyone who I'm not related to, don't trust me with that shit, because I'm gonna tell. I'm not going to prison. I cannot go to prison. I am not cut out for that.
I can tell you a really easy way to stay out of prison, Avery.
Don't commit a crime. I know.
Yes.
I'm not planning to, even though all these people did, but they paid for it. Anyways, yeah. Rudy essentially sets Rick up by telling him that he has someone from Harvard that he wants to introduce Rick to. I guess they were supposed to be like meeting somewhere.
Damn, this is dirty, Rudy.
Right. So he gets to the hotel and the authorities are there, the FBI, with all of this wiretap audio that they have been collecting from his phone. I love this in real life.
I love this.
Right. They had been collecting these phone calls from his phone, I assume, since Rudy had informed them of what Rick was doing. And ultimately, like, now we have 3 because now you're sending 3 home. Because now Rick agreed to participate with the authorities, but was basically trying to lessen the blow of what he did by saying things like the payments were donations, it wasn't for anything nefarious. But he
folds like a damn lawn chair, even though this is his organization.
He folds like a cheap lawn chair. Like, he's like, shit, I'm screwed. I'm definitely going to prison, but what can I do to make sure that I don't go to prison for
I'm taking everybody down with me.
Right. He really did. The definition of taking everyone down with you, genuinely. You and 50 other people. He then agreed to have recorded phone calls with clients about his foundation getting audited. Like, that's what he's telling them, like, we're getting audited, and then would essentially just like reiterate the details of what he actually did for these clients over the phone. Like, hey man, like, I'm getting audited, you know, like what I did for you a few months ago, getting your so-and-so into Harvard with this amount of donation. Like, remember when I did that for you? But like, they obviously don't know that they're being recorded, so they're like, yeah. And then he would give these people a fake cover story for if they were to ever be questioned. And the fake cover story was something along the lines of, like, we gave the money to send underprivileged kids to school, helping them to cover the costs. So obviously the FBI is like sitting right there as he's on the phone with these people, and they're just like completely corroborating and agreeing to do whatever because they know what they did was wrong. But when he called them, it was funny. Like, some of the phone footage, he'd be like, you know, like, I'm getting audited just like everyone these days. Like, everyone's getting audited.
Who's getting audited?
Like, businesses do get audited every year, but maybe not like a nonprofit. I don't know, honestly, how that would work. They probably do. Who do I know? I'm saying these things like I know what's going on. Auditing? Anyways, huh?
I'm Googling it. I don't know what auditing is.
Like, that's what my sister-in-law does. She's an auditor.
For like,
yeah, for different businesses.
Avery's sister-in-law, tell me what you do. I'm not gonna name your name in case you would have made it anonymous.
But in case she's like, you guys and your 9 listeners are really overwhelming to me. Sometimes he would even go to their homes and wear a body cam to record the conversations. Like, let's say that they were like, hey, I don't think we should be talking about this over the phone. Like, some of them did have the sense to think about the fact that they might have been.
Yeah, don't being like only in-person talks, but even those can't be trusted. But no paper trail, that's for sure.
I know, and he would wear something like a button cam of some sort to then record those conversations.
This
like
is bad.
Right. It's not looking good for these people, that's for sure. The unique thing about this sting operation, I just thought that this was interesting, was that they started with the person in charge and worked their way down.
That is interesting because normally they're trying to figure out who's in charge and nobody will tell. But that's more in the sense that they're terrified of the boss. But I feel like Rick like isn't like scary.
Yes, exactly. Like usually they're starting at a low level and working their way up the chain to get to like, I mean, you know, we're talking a drug case here, like a drug cartel.
Yeah.
You're working your way through the low level drug dealers to get to the ringleader, the kingpin. But like that was like something too that I thought was interesting that they mentioned in the documentary, was that one of the FBI agents was like, if this were a drug operation, Rick would have been found out within 30 seconds of one of these phone calls because of the way that like the drug cartels just, they know what to look for.
Yeah.
But something like a white collar crime, like just some random lawyer or a businessman, like they're not clever enough to know that something like that, and they're so arrogant that they just think that they're getting away with it. So they're not worried about getting caught. Versus like a drug dealer would be like on the defense, you know? But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit. Ultimately, in total, 50 people were charged in this scheme. Among them was the Stanford sailing coach John that I mentioned earlier. He was set up. I know, he was making me sad. He was set up by Rick in the sting operation as well. Rick called him one day telling him that he wanted to donate another $160,000 to the program to act as a deposit for their recruiting relationship. In this phone call, Rick does specifically state that this would be a fake profile for this student. So John did know. Like, I do still feel bad for him, but he did know essentially what was going on. John was charged with mail, wire, and tax fraud, and Stanford and Rick had agreed to testify against him. He ended up pleading guilty to racketeering. Because he never took any of the money for himself, he only got 6 months of home confinement and a $10,000 fine.
Well, sign me up for that, because home confinement, like, that does not sound bad.
She's like, if I ever needed a better excuse to commit a crime, I'm screaming.
Like,
that you just
forget the
said
$10,000 fine. That's not good. That would hurt me, obviously. But the home confinement,
that would be a bummer for sure. The $10K fine.
But the home confinement,
I'm dead. I'm literally cackling. Okay. It's also interesting because in the context of this case against John, Stanford is technically the victim, yet they are the ones that ended up with more money from the scandal than they had before. So, like, riddle me that. John also claims that once during his time at Stanford, all of the head coaches were meeting with the senior athletic director, and the only time that he was acknowledged by the athletic director was the AD telling him that he had done a really great job fundraising and to keep it up because it's really helpful. Allegedly, the senior AD had told John at one point that he knew Rick. So I think John's point in bringing this up is that other people knew what was going on and weren't doing anything to stop
why does
it.
John have to take the brunt of this?
Exactly. So John's like, what the fuck, you guys? Like,
John's
you're gonna
like, guys, everybody knows Rick.
Like, you're gonna let the low man on the totem pole take the fall for this? Like, that's crazy. Stanford denies that their athletic director knew Rick, like John claimed, and they also denied that any amount of money donated would make an impact on admissions, which we all know is just not true. So give it up. And of course, both Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, along with Lori's husband, were arrested as well. Felicity Huffman was arrested at her Hollywood Hills home. Her husband, William Macy, who played the dad in Shameless. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were married.
Yeah, that's her husband.
What?
Crazy,
he's in
right?
everything. I love that man.
I know. What was
Are they
his name
still
in that
married?
show? Yeah, they're still married. Her husband, he was not charged. Her husband wasn't. He wasn't charged with anything.
Wait, why not?
He didn't know.
Whoa.
I would assume. And the way that she was caught is that the authorities had recorded phone calls and a witness also. I don't know who the witness was. Felicity Huffman pleaded guilty to her conspiracy to commit fraud charges and was subsequently sentenced to 14 days in prison.
Big whoop. That's
right.
Crazy.
It is also alleged that she nearly participated in the same scheme again for her younger daughter, but decided not to. She served her 14-day sentence at the Federal Correction Institution in California in October of 2019. She also had to pay a $30,000 fine, do a year of supervised release, and do 250 hours of community service at the Teen Project in LA. And I actually believe that she only really served 11 days of her sentence, so she got out early. As for Lori Loughlin, the authorities had emails that corroborated her participation. She and her husband were originally charged with fraud, money laundering, and bribery, and they at first pleaded not guilty until May of 2020 when they finally entered a plea deal.
Why was Lori's worse than Felicity's?
I think it had to do with probably like the amount.
Okay.
Felicity Huffman's was only like $15,000 and Lori Loughlin's was like upwards of $500,000.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, having someone doctor a standardized test is not unheard of. Like, that's been going on for kind of a long time. But
yeah, and I guess it's not like as intricate as like literally making up a spot on a sport team.
And I actually think I misspoke earlier when I said that none of the students had gone to school yet. I do think that Olivia Jade had started at USC, but I don't think that Felicity Huffman's daughter had started at wherever she wanted to go.
So maybe it wasn't as bad because she actually didn't like go to school.
Yeah. Eventually, Lori Loughlin pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud, and her husband pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire and mail fraud and honest services wire and mail fraud. I don't know what that means, honest services. Prior to Lori and Moss pleading guilty, they claimed that the prosecutors were hiding evidence by not turning it over to their defense team and had their lawyers ask the judge to intervene. I just thought that that was interesting. Like, I don't know what they thought that they weren't, like, that was going to get them out of this.
Yeah, it's evidence, whatever it is.
Right. Their sentencing took place in August of 2020. Massimo has claimed that Lori Loughlin was really the mastermind and basically blames her for what ultimately happened, which is really shitty.
You're married.
Right. And also, there were court documents that showed emails between Massimo and Rick saying that he needs her transcript and test scores, quote, very soon while I create the Coxon profile for her. It would probably help to get a picture of her on an ERG and workout clothes like a real athlete too, end quote. To which Massimo responded saying, quote, fantastic, we'll get it all, end quote. So, like, he knew exactly what was going on, and he was the one that was, like, corresponding with Rick.
Don't piss me off. A man is always gonna make me angry.
Like, don't sit here and put the blame on your wife now.
Literally. Well, it might have been her idea. You participated. You participated.
Exactly. Like, you guys are clearly the epitome.
You could have
of
been like, hey, maybe
award.
We shouldn't do this.
Right.
I didn't hear those words come out of your mouth.
And you're clearly like fine with somebody getting a participation award because you cheated to get your daughter into college. So I'm not really sure why you'd have a problem participating now. So about a year later, after this email saying that he needed these photos, Rick Singer's accountant emailed an invoice to Massimo for $200,000, which he then sent to his accountant with the message, good news, my daughter is in USC. Bad is I had to work the system.
Why would you say that in an email, bro?
I mean, insane. And you're sending this to your accountant.
Y'all are so dumb. Trust no one.
Literally. And obviously we can see based on this email that like fully this scheme
he knew about
went through. And it also worked because now he's sending the payment over.
Yeah.
What's so ironic about them is that there were even court filings showing that USC had reached out to Lori and Massimo about giving their younger daughter a legitimate opportunity to attend USC because they were large donors to the school, and a fundraising officer reached out in 2016 and offered a one-on-one customized tour for their younger daughter, not Olivia Jade. The other daughter's name is Bella. To which Massimo turned down, saying, quote, thanks so much, I think we are squared away, end quote. Then forwarded this email to Lori saying, quote, the nicest I've been at blowing off somebody. Like, you guys were already donating money she could have gotten in, and you just committed a crime.
Yeah.
Because it was easier for you.
Like, How is that easier?
Idiots. All of them. Of course, there were claims that the parents didn't truly know what they were involved in, but there were just like tons of phone calls obtained where Rick and these parents are literally talking about what happens if somebody found out and exposed what they were doing. So it's like, don't even play that game with me. Lori and Massimo really claimed that they had been duped and that the payment was truly a donation. One of Lori Laughlin's emails to Rick stated, quote, Olivia Jade has not submitted all of her college apps and is confused on how to do so. I want to make sure she gets those in, as I don't want to call any attention to her with her little friend at her high school. Can you tell us how to proceed? I'm assuming the little friend is referring to the guidance counselor.
Damn.
Like, he's just catching strays all over the
Lori.
place. I know. Obviously, their daughters were not charged or implicated in this crime, which is good. But
yeah, that's good, but I'm like, at least Olivia knew.
Yeah, I definitely think she knew that there was maybe something less than legal happening. But Lori served 2 months in prison and was released in December of 2020. Massimo was sentenced to 5 months in prison, a $250,000 fine, 2-year supervised release, and 250 hours of community service.
Wait, why did he get so much more?
I think she probably did get so much more, but I didn't find anything that said like specifically what she got. In terms of the sentence, I don't know, like the 5 months versus 2 months, I'm not really sure. He did try to go for early release, requesting to serve the rest of his sentence from home, and was denied, but ultimately only spent about 2 months in prison. He was released in April of 2021. As for some of the others that were involved, Mark, the SAT swindler, was eventually sentenced to 4 months in prison, 2-year supervised release, a $1,000 fine, and about a $240,000 forfeiture.
So he had to give up the money that he made.
Yeah, yes, I believe so. Donna Heinel, the USC athletic director that we talked about earlier, originally pleaded not guilty to racketeering, but eventually switched her plea to guilty on one count of honest services wire fraud. I'm not sure. I didn't like go
What is honest services about wire fraud?
I don't know. I don't know what that means. And as for Rick, the ringleader, he received, of course, the longest sentence out of anyone. In March of 2019, Rick pleaded guilty to his charges and was sentenced to, in January of 2023, to 3.5 years in a federal prison and a $10 million forfeiture. Once he is out of prison, he has 3 years of supervised release, and prosecutors were originally going for 6 years and a $19 million forfeiture, but we obviously see that that did not happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Prior to his sentencing, he made this statement about his crimes. He said, quote, I have been reflecting on my very poor judgment and criminal activities that increasingly had become my way of life. I have woken up every day feeling shame, remorse, and regret. I acknowledge that I am fully responsible for my crimes by ignoring what was morally, ethically, and legally right in favor of winning what I perceived was the college admissions gain. I have lost everything.
Okay, Rick, I don't care.
I mean, you committed a crime for 10 years, my guy. While Rick's cooperation was a huge part of the reason they were able to implicate so many people, he did actually tip off at least 6 of his clients about the investigation, and he also broke rules by deleting text messages and also via unauthorized phone use. So he definitely wasn't like ready to be completely honest. His sentencing was actually delayed until after everyone else was tried, which is why he wasn't sentenced until 2023. The reason for this was because the government really wanted to understand the full extent of what he had done and the gravity of the operation by getting through all of the rest of the trials first. There were many, many, many more people involved in this case, as I mentioned, so I'm not going to go through them all, but several members of the staff at the University of Southern California, and I think the most amount from one school was maybe USC, but other schools implicated included Yale, Stanford, UCLA, and actually a Wake Forest women's volleyball coach
No
was charged.
way.
His case was later dropped on the grounds that he pay a $1,000 fine, but I just wanted to throw that in there because Julia and I are both from North Carolina, and I grew up in Winston-Salem, so...
And I'm sure that my cousin probably knew that coach, or like knew of him because she played volleyball for
That's T. Also, yeah, that's wild. But yeah, I just thought that that was interesting and kind of random. Like, I do feel like it was mostly, well, I wouldn't even say that. I was going to say mostly West Coast schools, but I do think that a lot of the Ivies were involved, and obviously those are East Coast. While the sentences were rather short, the aftermath and the fallout has definitely lingered, especially for Lori Loughlin, Felicity Huffman, and of course their children. As for Felicity Huffman, since her return back to acting and a few years out from the scandal, she says about it, quote, I felt like I had to give my daughter a chance at a future, and so it was sort of like my daughter's future, which meant I had to break the law.
You didn't, but
okay.
She would have been fine.
That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. She says that her biggest apology goes out to the academic community and to the students and families that sacrifice and work really hard to get where they're going legitimately. In a letter that Felicity wrote to a judge in September of 2019, she talks about the impact her crimes had on her family, stating, when my daughter looked at me and asked with tears streaming down her face, why didn't you believe in me? Why didn't you think I could do it on my own?
Oh, no.
I had no adequate answer for her. I could only say, I am sorry. I was frightened and I was stupid.
That makes me like grateful that the kids didn't have anything like against them.
And it makes me so sad for her daughter.
Yeah. You like didn't believe in your kid.
Like, ugh, that's so sad. Also, apparently, this is also sad. When the FBI came to arrest Felicity Huffman at her home, they woke up her daughter Sophia with guns drawn, and she supposedly had some serious issues with sleep for a while. After that, her dad says that she's received help, but I mean,
damn.
The same thing happened to Jen Shaw's kids. Like,
yeah. That's, I mean, why do we have to go in guns a-blazing? She's not a murderer. She's like, she just paid somebody to take a test for her daughter.
I kind of agree. Like, did we need to have guns drawn? I'm not sure about that.
Did we need to have the guns out?
Like, I guess law enforcement's defense would be that you never know what could happen when something like that is going down, but maybe, like, don't wake her daughter up from sleep with a gun. Like, her daughter wasn't even old enough to own a gun at the time, probably, so I doubt she would have had one handy. That just seems weird to me, but whatever. No FBI agent. Her Desperate Housewives co-star Eva Longoria said about her shortly after the scandal, quote, I think she has a heart that is bigger than the sun, and that's the Felicity I know, and that's the woman I choose to support and love. She was humbled by what happened, and I think she did handle it with as much grace as she could in that situation, end quote. I will say she did plead guilty. It's not like she did what Lori Loughlin did and started out with a not guilty plea.
Yeah.
Sophia, her daughter, did not end up going to college at the time and was acting a bit. But in April of 2020, she announced she would be attending Carnegie Mellon in the fall and would be studying drama.
Cute. Well, I'm glad she, like, found a new way.
Yes. I will say she did definitely reap consequences of the scandal because she had an invitation to audition for Juilliard revoked at the last minute for what would have been her final round of auditions. So she must be talented if she made it to the final round of Juilliard. Her younger sister, Georgia, also started school at Vassar in fall of 2020 as well, which is also a good school, I think. I need some water.
Oh, yeah.
Felicity said in 2024, most recently, that she is still processing everything that happened and about her career. She says, quote, I did a pilot for ABC recently that didn't get picked up. It's been hard, sort of like your old life died and you died with it. I'm lucky enough to have a family and love and means, so I had a place to land. She has since returned to TV. She's in a new series, I think, that's on like Hulu. It's some sort of medical drama. So that's her. Obviously, I love Desperate Housewives, so.
Were you a fan of Felicity prior?
No, I didn't really know who she was before I started watching Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, the new show is called Doc.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought, but I was like, that just doesn't sound.
I don't know her as like anything other than Desperate Housewives, which I started watching 2 days ago. So
love. I will say, like,
she was in Christmas with the Cranks, apparently.
Oh my god, yeah, she was like one of Nora's friends.
I haven't watched that movie in such a long time.
I've seen it so many times because my mom.
I know, because your mother is obsessed.
Yeah, that's so funny actually that you say that. She's like a friend of Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Wow.
Although someone I did watch a lot was Miss Lori Loughlin.
Same.
As for
who didn't?
Right. As for how her life has panned out since the scandal, she made a statement prior to her sentencing that read, I went along with a plan to give my daughters an unfair advantage in the college admissions process. I ignored my intuition and allowed myself to be swayed from my moral compass. I thought I was acting out of love for my children, but in reality, it only undermined and diminished my daughter's abilities and accomplishments. More broadly and more importantly, I now understand that my decision helped exacerbate existing inequalities in society generally and in the higher education system specifically. That realization weighs heavily on me.
Only because you got caught.
Well, you would be correct, because the judge did say that he believed she was remorseful, but he did criticize her for trying to take advantage of the system despite her already, quote, charmed life. just to get, quote, whatever prestige and instant gratification that comes from being able to show off the admissions of your daughters to a preferred university.
I love when judges just make my jaw drop. Like, they take no shit. I love a good judge.
I would become a judge solely so that I could read people for filth.
Yeah, literally.
In April of 2020, Lori Loughlin said in a magazine article, quote, I try to be a forgiving person. I'm not one to hold on to stuff. Stuff happens to everyone. We've all been in positions to ask for forgiveness, but to ask for it, you have to learn and know how to give forgiveness too. My family wasn't one to hold grudges. Except your husband.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in a household where if you made a mistake, you weren't forgiven. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. So I was always told to let stuff go. And I think for your own health, you have to let things go because you can't hang on to negativity. Life's too short. She was fired from the Hallmark Channel and was not asked back to Fuller House for the final season. So she did reap the consequences. Her lawyers also did try to get her charges dropped at one point. The judge obviously denied it. But at this point, she had accepted her plea. And that's when she was sentenced to 2 months in prison. And actually, I lied. I did have it written down. Along with the 2 months in prison, she got a $150,000 fine, 2 years of supervised release, and 100 hours of community service. I do agree with her that, like, in the grand scheme of crimes to commit, you do need to forgive yourself for this one eventually.
Yeah,
like I mean, don't think you should have to carry this for the rest of your life.
You took advantage of a largely corrupt system. But, like, it was corrupt way prior to you, homegirl. You just got caught up in it.
Yes, exactly.
So, like, from that point, of course. But you still did something that was really wrong when there's such hardworking kids trying to get into college every single day the correct way.
Mm-hmm. That really is the biggest thing, in my opinion. As for Massimo, his clothing line was dropped from Target.
God forbid.
And actually, just this year in October of 2025, Lori Loughlin and Massimo were announced to be separated after 28 years of marriage.
That sucks.
Massimo has called Lori Loughlin the driving force behind their decision to participate in bribes. It's been said that their marriage was very strong prior to the scandal, but it started unraveling afterwards, and they were bad to blame each other for what happened. They both basically lost their jobs and also had to end Tiny Violin had to end their country club membership.
Oh my god. This is the worst I've heard, this whole thing. I can't believe that you lost your cross-country membership. Go to a new neighborhood.
And, like, devastating.
Devastating. Build your own pool.
Right.
Buy a golf course.
Right.
Get over it.
They've also said that they've lost many friends, but, like, can you blame them?
No, nobody likes to be involved with scandal. They just like to hear about it.
Exactly. However, John Stamos recently, also in October of 2025, spoke on what he thought about Lori Loughlin's sentence and her involvement. He also mentioned on the Good Guys podcast that she kind of took the fall for her husband, and she didn't even really understand what was going on, which I don't believe. John Stamos even went as far as to say that Massimo was a terrible narcissist.
Well, I have to believe that somehow he's more involved because he got a worse sentencing than she did, and that makes no sense if she was, in quotes, the driving force.
Yeah, agreed.
So, like, there has to be something that wasn't released that we don't know.
In early 2025, Lori Loughlin got her first big role on TV since the scandal in a new police drama called On Call, which was on Peacock. I actually watched it because it has Spencer from Pretty Little Liars in it.
I do love Troyan.
Yeah, but Lori also had some smaller roles in Hallmark production.
Well,
Hallmark
I thought
productions as well.
Homegirl lost her Hallmark deal.
She probably did, but maybe they gave it back to her in some sense.
So she didn't lose anything, really.
Yeah.
Hallmark is a great way to make money.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely did lose it for a period of time, but, you know, there's only so many actors, like, that are willing to do Hallmark.
I would be willing to do Hallmark because, as Hillary Burns said, it's, like, great money. And it's not hard. Don't quote me that she actually said that, but she did say something to that effect on her podcast.
I mean, I could totally see that. As far as Olivia Jade and her sister, they were not expelled from the University of Southern California, but they were unable to register for classes for the upcoming semester as their cases were being reviewed.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, okay. Olivia Jade lost most of her sponsorships, and they discontinued an eyeshadow palette that she had collabed on or created. I'm not really sure. She also lost a ton of subscribers and followers, of course. A little bit more on her. After the scandal, she pretty much disappeared from social media. And in December of 2019, she made her first YouTube video since the scandal. She said in her video, quote, "Obviously, I've been gone for a really long time, and as much as I wish I could talk about all of it, It's really hard for me to say this just because I know it's something that needs to be addressed. It's just unfortunately also why I didn't know exactly when I should come back to YouTube. But the reason for that is just because I'm legally not allowed to speak on anything going on right now. This was like in the middle of her parents being sentenced and stuff, so that makes sense. She also went on a talk show that same month and said about the scandal, quote, "We had the means to do something and we completely took it and ran with it. It was something that was wrong. It really can't be excused. On paper, it's bad. It's really bad. But I think what a lot of people don't know is my parents came from a place of just, I love my kids. I just want to help my kids, whatever is best for them. I worked my whole life to provide for my family." I think they thought it was normal.
So is she basically saying that she knew?
I mean, I don't know that she's saying that.
Yeah.
But she's saying she knows it was bad. And she's just essentially saying that her parents just thought that this is what everyone else did. So why couldn't they do it? Which I would say that I would maybe believe that there's some truth to that, but that's just me giving them the benefit of the doubt. In December of 2020, she commented on the scandal and how it made her feel, saying, quote, "To be honest, I wasn't angry, and I think it's because I didn't have a good understanding of what just happened. I didn't see the wrong in it."
Okay, queen.
She's okay, girl, whatever. She slowly kind of made her return and was even on Dancing with the Stars season 30. People were upset when she said on the show that she was best known for being an influencer, given how widespread the scandal was.
What is she gonna say, people?
I know.
She's gonna be like, child of college scandal.
Exactly.
What do you want her to say?
Exactly. She even said on the Dancing with the Stars premiere, after the scandal happened, I did step back from social media and just to soak in what everyone was saying. I'm not trying to pull a pity card, but I just need to move forward and do better.
Did she make it far? Who was her partner?
I think it was Val.
What?
Yeah. More recently, in 2024, she posted a vlog to her YouTube channel giving a tour of her home. And while showing off her kitchen, she said, "Back in the kitchen. Sorry for the mess that's behind me. The kitchen needs a clean. I'm so excited, you guys. I finally ordered wallpaper for the kitchen, so it's not going to feel so sterile. It's not going to feel like a prison. Save the jokes. I don't want to hear it. I set you up and I don't want to tee you off, okay?"
Oh, okay.
And she, like, obviously experienced some backlash from saying this because, I can take a joke like that, but the keyboard warriors would, I can see how they would have come for her. She officially dropped out of USC in March of 2019. Her sister Bella also dropped out eventually. And in general, some of the students were even punished by their high schools. Some were even banned from school events like prom and graduation, and many had their college offer letters rescinded. Some were even handcuffed when the FBI came to arrest their parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's scary.
The scandal actually also reflected positively on the universities because people were seeing this bribe scandal and in their minds were like, "Oh my god, it must be a really good school. These people are literally going to jail to get their kids into this university."
Gonna piss me off. What? In my mind, it would turn me off from that school because, you want money over like being good academically or being a good athlete.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. In terms of the university's response, I only really found like one direct reference to the scandal from the president of the University of Southern California. She says about it, "I want to inform you of an ongoing wide-ranging criminal investigation involving universities nationwide, including USC. The government has made a public announcement and disseminated the charging documents. The federal government has alleged that USC is a victim in the scheme perpetrated against the university by a longtime athletics department employee, one current coach, and 3 former coaching staff who were allegedly involved in a college admissions scheme and have been charged by the government on multiple charges."
So basically just saying what's happening, not like apologizing or really addressing it.
And also not like taking any accountability for not like performing checks and balances on the students that you're admitting. That's crazy. As for Rick, in the summer of 2024, he launched a new college advisement company.
Are you so for real?
I'm so for real.
How? Was he not awaiting a sentence?
Matter of fact,
he was already in jail. Who's launching this then?
Yeah. This company was called ID Future Stars. Weird name. In March of 2025, just a few months ago, in March of 2025, Rick was released from prison after serving 42 months for racketeering, money laundering, and obstruction.
Why does everyone get out early?
Dude, I don't even know. Actually, I don't think he did. Maybe he
42
did.
months.
I guess he did.
Yeah, that's not 3.5 years.
Yeah, you're right. I just can't do math. In July, so this is to answer your question, in July of 2025, a Massachusetts judge ruled that he could continue his work as an independent college advisor for his new company.
Oh, you know what? I misspoke. So 12 times 3, because there's 12 months in a year, is 36. Plus 6 is 42. So he served his exact sentence.
Okay, good.
Everyone disregard what I said.
Good. Good that he served his full sentence. He deserved it.
Thank you, Rick.
But a judge ruled that he could continue to be a college advisor as long as he clearly discloses his criminal past to his potential clients. So he would have to have a disclaimer on his website that was prominent that disclosed his criminal history, and he has to provide clients with a notice as well. It has to specify the amount of bribes that he took and that he used a large chunk of the money for his own benefit. He has to disclose how long he was in prison and what kind of restitution he had to pay. And lastly, he has to link to a press release from the federal prosecutor's office that handled this case.
I'm on his website now.
I
am not afraid to tell people who I am and that I made a mistake, took full responsibility, and want to share my expertise, passion, and desire to help shape our next generation's leaders.
Oh, Lord. Is that all it says?
No, it's like a book.
It's really long. To just wrap it all up with a nice, pretty bow, the most ironic bow of all time. He says that a young man reached out to him while he was in prison during the most recent admission season, asking if Rick could help him with his applications and look at his credentials.
Why are we reaching out to him?
Right. The student wanted Rick to let him know if he thought that he had a chance of getting into the schools that he had listed, and Rick says that he responded to the student advising him on changes, etc., and that this is just so ironic that the student ended up getting into a top school.
Okay.
So that wraps up the college admission scandal.
This website is crazy. Like, this is a criminal.
This is a criminal. I mean, you're right.
And you want him to help
that. This is a criminal.
This is like, he literally was in prison for getting people into college illegally, and you want to use him to get you into college legally?
No, it's so true. It's crazy. Like,
he also looks nothing like I thought he would look like.
What did you think he would look like?
Literally, because you keep saying Rick, I think he's gonna look like Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead.
No, he's not. He's not like anything special, that's for sure.
No, but I'm wondering why on this idfuturestars.com I'm seeing 40,000 photos of his face. It's just 3, but I just already feel like that's too many.
I just think it goes to show that.
Oh my god, at the bottom, it says ID Future Stars has no association with the schools or any of its affiliates.
Screaming. I just think that him being able to run this business again just goes to show that, like, there are still so many parents out there that are willing to pay just exorbitant amounts of money to get their kid into a school. Like, this isn't even just them paying tuition. This is literally them paying thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars probably to just get their kid into the school. It should be free, aside from the application fee, to get into a school. That's free.
When you like first open the website, there's like a whole like pop-up you can click on to read about like his past crimes. So they're following what he was told to do.
I mean, he would be arrested if he wasn't.
Well, yeah.
Probably. I mean,
but just, checking up.
Yeah. No, of course. I assumed you would. That's what you're here for.
It's my civic duty to then report him.
Exactly. And that's what you're here for, to look these things up while I'm telling you
obviously.
The story. But yeah, that is, I mean, what can I say? Tea as fuck.
It was perfect.
Genuinely the worst done crime.
What a great episode.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It
took
me a really long time to write.
No, it was great. I was like sucked in.
And it was low-key kind of boring when I was writing it, so I'm glad it was interesting.
I was sucked into the point where like I wasn't even like reading ahead. I kept asking questions and then you would like the answer would be one sentence down.
Period. And that's on investigative journalism. Anyways, thanks for listening, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Next Thursday, I have switched up our schedule a little bit because I wanted to do something a bit lighthearted, and also due to the fact that Vanderpump Rules season 12, this is very monumental for me, comes out on December 2nd. We are going to be covering Scandoval on December 4th, next Thursday. I've been like waiting to write for the right time to write this episode. I just didn't know when it was going to be. Like, when I tell you, I have watched the Scandal episode of Vanderpump Rules probably 10 times.
We literally watched it while I was in New York.
We did. Like, I'm pretty sure that episode, like, won an Emmy. So, like, I'm not crazy. It was a good ass episode.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Tuesday for Reality Digest. Go forth and gossip. And keep a secret, guys, as we've learned. If you have a secret, don't share it with too many people.
Got a secret, can you keep it?
Don't tell it I said. What's the rest of it?
I don't know, but we're not gonna make them listen to it.
Better lock it in your pocket. Taking this one. Is it to the grave?
Yes. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week for more pop culture chaos. The stories we cover are based on research and publicly available sources. While we strive for accuracy, some details may be disputed or unverified, and this episode is for entertainment and informational purposes only.